Alright, so finally it is time to start colorizing our creature. Now, there's one last thing I wanted to do before I completely get away from my accessories, and it was so minor that I just didn't think about it until we were in between videos. But really quick, I'm going to jump over to my accessory outline layer, and I'm going to draw really carefully 3 circles down this bracer, and it's just so that it has something. It'll have like some little metal studs on it going down. And I guess if you really wanted to, you could put one here on the outside of the arm just for continuity's sake. We don't need one over here because that would actually be shifted over to the outside. And we don't necessarily need them over here, though. If you wanted to, you could make little lumpy thingies that kind of show, if you take my meaning, like you can kind of see those studs protruding there. So anyways, that's all I wanted to add. So real quick and easy. Now, with that out of the way, we're ready to start colorizing. And before we really, I guess, jump into and start doing that, let's brief for just a moment. What I'm going to do is break each major aspect of our character up into a section, and I'm going to colorize each one of those sections separately. Now, I'm going to approach color in a way that is very similar to how colors or how materials are created in 3D applications such as Maya or Max, and that is where you're going to start off with a diffuse color. And that diffuse color is going to be applied to every single section that is of the same color. You're just going to drop it everywhere. It'll make your drawing look very flat. And then after we're done applying those base diffuse colors to all of our different pieces, then we'll go in piece by piece and start doing shading and highlights. So that's how we're going to approach that. Now, the color scheme that I'll be using for this particular character is fairly simple. If you wanted something a bit more flamboyant, like if you wanted stripes on his body, or you wanted maybe his face to have a lighter color than the rest of his body, you'd have to take that into account on your diffuse layer and make adjustments accordingly. Now, what I'm going to do for starters is very simple. But the cool thing about simplicity is, one, well, you can do it fairly quickly, and two, later on, if you need to make changes, it becomes really easy to make changes. Okay, so all that out of the way. Let's start off by creating a diffuse layer that just takes into account our main body, the actual skin of our character. We'll consider that to be one section. We'll consider the leather for the bracers and the armbands to be another section. In that section, we'll probably include the belt. We'll have another section for the belt buckle and for the metal studs. Another section for the loincloth. I'll probably put the shoes in the same section as the armbands and the bracers. They'll also be like the same shade of brown or whatever leather we choose. And then the little fur cuffs around the tops of the shoes will make the same color as the loincloth. So we'll get a little bit of continuity in there. Okay, so how do we go about this? Well, first off, create a new layer before you do anything. And we'll call this layer, let's do body diffuse. Now, what color would you like your body to be? Well, I'm thinking something along the lines of green. It is a goblin, after all. In the end, though, the funny thing is, it almost doesn't matter. You could make this neon purple if you really wanted to, and later on I'm going to show you a way to do a really fast color comp system so that you can change colors really, really quickly. So, again, it doesn't really matter, but let's go ahead and choose some shade of green. So we'll jump over here to green, and we'll do something that is dark but fairly desaturated, sort of an olive green. Not too deep, though. I'll try this. And let me make my paintbrush nice and big. I'll just paint a couple of swatches of it. That'll probably work. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is select my final line layer, and let's grab our magic wand tool. And I'm just going to click inside of his body and take a look at what got selected. Because everything was nice and watertight, I just have the inside of that body selected. As a matter of fact, we can step down to the body diffuse layer, and I can hold down Alt and hit Delete, and we just fill in that green color. Let's hit Control D and deselect, and you can see exactly what we just got. So, it's real quick and easy to see how that worked. Now, we've got a couple of problems here and there where, we can see that we still see our crotch, things like that. A little bit of problem area. We could probably fix some of that with some clever positioning of layers. But for a quick way to drop down color, that's not bad, at least for starters. Now, not exactly what I want to do just yet. In fact, what I'm going to do for now is step down to the body diffuse. Let's hold down... let's hold down Control and click on that layer. No, let's just hit Control A, Delete. I'm sorry, I got all confused. that's just a quick way to show you why we're doing this kind of watertight approach where we're making sure everything is closed in, because that way you can see each of the bits and pieces that'll make up all of our character. But let's come back over here to our final line, and I'll hit Control-D. Let's grab our magic wand again, and I'll click over here in the body and take a close look at what we've got. I mean, we're getting some things that we don't necessarily want to see, and that's because we have the belt and all that. We still have the crotch being selected, and that's a bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is, with my magic wand tool selected, I'll click the Sample All Layers button, and now you'll notice I just get individual sections that are bounded in by lines across all layers. So in this particular case, if you're having a hard time visualizing what I just selected, switch over to Quick Select mode, and there's what I grabbed. The white area is what I just selected. Now this is super, super handy because you can see that I just grabbed the main part of the body. We didn't grab any of the armbands, and it cut off right there at the necklace. Very, very cool. But you'll notice we also selected one nipple and not the other. So what I'm going to do is zoom in here. Let's get out of Quick Select mode. I don't mind the idea of the nipples all being on the same layer, so really carefully I'm going to come in here to the final line layer, and let's make my eraser really small, like right down to just a couple of pixels, and I'm just going to break that. So the little tiniest of breaks right there. And you can't really see it in the final drawing anyways, so now if I come back over here to my magic wand, we get this, and if we switch over to Quick Select mode, now I've selected that nipple as well. So there you go. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Let's see if I click over here on the head. Well, that's not really the way I want to do it. Let's get out of quick mask mode. We'll now click on the head, or let's hold down Shift and click on the head. So now we're just grabbing it section by section. So now I can grab just this part of the lower arm. I can grab just this part of the hand. I didn't mean to do that, so let's hit Control-Z. Hold down Shift and click on the upper part of the arm and click on the hand. If at any point you ever see your selection go crazy and select everything, it's because you had a hole somewhere. So go find the hole and fill it in. We'll hold down Shift and click on one leg and then the other. And I think that's it for all the parts of the body. And again, if you need to verify, jump over to Quick Mask mode. And that looks pretty good. I think that's going to work out really well for us. So let's jump out of Quick Mask mode. I'm going to do something kind of interesting here. What we're going to do is go over to Select, we'll go to Modify, and we're going to expand our selection by, you can probably get away with 1 pixel. I'm tempted to do 2. Let's just try 1 pixel. So I'll blow the thing up by 1 pixel, and what's this going to do? This is going to start overlapping our selection over those lines, which is going to be handy because we're going to keep our body diffuse layer underneath the final line layer so that we can just paint like crazy within here, and it'll still stay underneath those lines. Doing this, that little expansion step, will keep you from having a gap between your lines and the actual colors, which you might have seen earlier when we were dropping down that color with Control-Delete. You could see sometimes there was a gap in between the black line and where the color ended. Alright, so now we've got this selection of all of our body pieces. What I'm going to do is come over here to the body diffuse layer, and I'm going to add a layer mask. Now, to test this out, watch this. We can just select our body diffuse layer, and I can hold down Alt and hit Delete, and we fill in this color all across the body. Now, that's cool in and of itself, but it would be even cooler if we didn't have to go through and redo the filling process. So let's try this. Let's create a new layer, and this will be a solid color layer. It's under the Adjustment Layers menu. I didn't just click on New Layer. Let's go to Adjustment Layers. We'll create a solid color layer. And that's fine, whatever color it chooses, which is the color we had a second ago, this sort of olive green color. I'm going to, let's just take its mask, and I'll just trash the mask. So it says, do you want to delete the layer mask? Yeah, sure, you're not really doing anything with it anyway. But then I'll hold down Alt, and we'll drag our existing layer mask from the body diffuse on top of our new color fill layer, and boom, there you go. Now, why was that cool? Why was that even interesting? Because now I can take our body diffuse layer we had a second ago, we can completely trash it. And we tested it out with that Alt-Delete bit, and that was really cool. But now let's call this one Body Diffuse. So it's doing the same job, but the really cool thing now is I've got this color picker that I can double-click whenever I want. If I want to see this body in different colors, I can just really quickly drag and pick out anything I want. So if I want to see him in gray, there he is in gray. If I want to see him in blue, well, there he is in blue. Very, very easy to do. So let's cancel out of that. We'll leave it at this sort of olive green color for the time being. And now all we want to do is set up a similar system for each of the different pieces of our body. And we're going to do this based on what should be the same color. So let's go back to our magic wand tool. And we'll grab this armband, or I'm sorry, the bracer. We'll hold down Shift, and then we'll grab this bicep band. And this bicep band, notice it went around that little button, which is good. And we'll grab this bracer, and we'll go ahead and add the pieces of the belt here as well. And let's go ahead and add the shoes here. So there's all of the brown leather pieces that I think should be added. Now again, go to Select. Let's go to Modify, and let's expand this by 1 pixel so we get a nice overlappage. Let's create a new fill layer. Now check this out. While I have this selected, if we come over here to our adjustment layers and create a solid color layer, let's go ahead and let's choose another color. Say something like brown. Click OK. It automatically applies our selection as the layer mask, which is really, really super handy. I can't get enough of that trick. That one just makes me happy on a lot of different levels. So that's looking pretty good. Let's go back to our magic wand tool, and let's zoom in here so we can see really closely. There's little guys in here. Hold on Shift and grab each one of these. And then we'll go ahead and get a necklace in here too. And little dot dudes. And we'll go ahead and get the belt buckle. I think that's everything that would need to be metal. Oh, we should name this too. Let's call this dark leather. Oh, okay, hang on. Let's simplify that. So DK for dark leather, and then Diff for diffuse. Now that's a big long name, so you can just barely make it out, but it's just to let you know that's the diffuse layer for our leather. Now let's create another one of these. Actually, we need to expand. So select, modify, expand again by a pixel, so we again get some nice overlapping, and then let's create a new solid color layer, and this time let's use a light pale gray. And didn't want to do that. So let's cancel out of that. We'll double-click the name here, and we'll call this Metal Diff for Diffuse. And that really only leaves one thing, so that would be the loincloth and anything associated with it. So let's go back to the wand tool, hold down Shift, we'll grab that. That looks like a good selection. That looks like a good selection. We could, if we want to be really picky, zoom in here and get the wand tool back out and add in that little area. Okay, and I can't think of anything else that really needs to be added. I think that's everything. Okay, and select, modify, expand by a pixel, and then we'll create another solid color layer, and we'll make this a very pale brown, and click OK. And there we go. So now, I mean, in rapid, very short order, we end up with a very quickly colorized system that is very nice because it's really easy for us to change the colors of any given piece. I mean, if we decide that our brown leather is just not quite dark enough, we can just come over there to our dark leather diffuse, double click on it, and we can darken it up, or we can change it all together, we can turn it green, we can turn it blue, anything we want to do, we've got right there at the touch of our fingertips. So if you use this really carefully with anything that should have the same diffuse color, you can get a really quick and easily editable way to change colors around, which is great for various color compositions. So let's organize things a little bit. Let's take all of our color diffuse guys here, and I will drop these into a group. And actually, let me think for just a moment. Yeah, that'll work. Just for now. I might change this up later. So we'll call this diffuse colors. And then let's take our two outlines, and we'll drop those into a group as well. And I didn't mean to do that. We'll just double-click the name, and we'll call this outlines. So that works. The background can still kind of stay its own thing. The detritus group we can probably throw away at this point. I don't think there's anything in it we particularly need. We had some notes, and they're all behind the background now, so I'm going to move the background to even see them. Yeah, we don't really need the notes anymore. We don't really need our proportion drawing, so I'm going to take that entire group and we'll just trash it. The base structure stuff we can hold on to just to show our friends where we came from. But I think with that, the base part of our colorization is done. So that's going to wrap up this video, and now we will progress into the shading section.